Good evening and welcome to the Job Search Solution, the radio program where we talk about looking for a job, changing jobs, changing careers, hiring. And as always, we begin with a prayer. Dear God, grant us thy peace and thy mercy, thy will be done. And just a few minutes, as we do every Wednesday evening, Rich Levinsky is going to be with us talking about consultants in the workplace. He always has some interesting observations about what's going on. Want to remind everybody that we're giving away free books on how to find a job. I've written 5 books and we have a number of them left over. And all you got to do is email me, Tony@babich.com, TONY@BABICH.com, and we'll send us your address and we'll send you one of the books. We've been talking about in the last few videos about your references. And I want to talk about something that few people want to admit, and it's when they're going to get a bad reference from a prospective employer. 90%, 97% of the companies in the United States are run by people who don't really know what they're doing and don't have a problem with giving a bad reference, even though it may reflect badly on them, or it may not be true, or a lot of things. They'll give a bad reference. If you've been fired from a company, especially if it was acrimonious, the best you can do is to hope to convince the hiring authority or the person that you worked for to provide a neutral reference if they're contacted. There are professional organizations that will help you check your references and get them tidied up. But if you're going to do it to yourself, do it for yourself. Listen to the person that you think might give you a bad reference and discuss the reference with him or her. In reality, most companies don't like to give bad references. They will if you've really it was a mess. They will, but they really don't want, they've got enough hassles and they don't want to do that. But try to go over your strengths and weaknesses with this person and hope they give a neutral reference. Most of the time, people are going to soften and not be as angry as they were when you left, and at least provide a neutral reference as the person, if he or she would be willing to give a positive reference in certain situations. You can negotiate with them. If you cannot talk to the person, and if you know, or if they have given you a bad reference, write a letter to that person explaining that you understand that he or she has been giving you a bad reference and you wish it would stop. Send a copy of the letter to the president of the company, if the president of the company is not the one giving the reference, but don't threaten and don't try to do anything that's ridiculous, like I'll get you. Just all you're trying to do is get a neutral reference, and you don't want to threaten any kind of legal action or any kind of thing ridiculous or yell or scream. I've had candidates leave terrible emails to everybody in the company, and it's not good. All it does is flame the fire. What you have to do is get a neutral reference from them. One of our premier legal authorities reminds us all the time that a previous employer can say anything they want in a reference being checked, as long as it's true. If they're telling the truth, then no matter how bad it is, if it's the truth. But most companies don't want to mess with that kind of thing. So if you know you're going to get a poor reference, even if it's neutralized, especially by your position with a number of people, get a number of positive references from the organization you've been fired from. Call your friends, call people that you worked with that like you, that were able to give you a good reference, and ask a good reference from them. To do this, you have to ask a number of your peers and previous supervisors if you can get them off the record to prospective employers you work for about your work habits. It's also common for salespeople, for instance, when interviewing, to offer customer references. An accountant may offer the external auditing organization that they work with, and you can always try to find some people that are going to support you. But you have to be sure of this kind of thing. It happens at least once a week in our organization that we're posed with the problem of a candidate saying, it's not likely that I'm going to get a poor reference. It's not likely I'm going to get a good reference from this company. What you want to try to do in a situation like that is just get them to say nothing at all. They don't have to say anything, as we mentioned in the last session that we had about this. They don't have to say anything at all. So ask them not to say anything. Just say, look, I really wish you wouldn't say anything. Let's just leave it at that and try to get some other references from other people that you've worked for in the past. Do not tell a prospective employer that I don't want to give a reference at that place because they're not going to give me a good reference. A good reference is a relative thing. There are lots of people that do well in one organization and don't do well in another, but you want to try to avoid this as best you can. A lot of times people really mess up when they leave an organization. They leave angry, they leave bad, they leave lots of arguments and put themselves in a terrible position because they're going to get a reference. And they don't think about that at the time when they do it. But there are lots of things you can do to protect yourself from a bad reference, but you're going to have to take a lot of time and effort to do it. All right, we're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. This is Tony Bashar with the Job Search Solution.